And he played f5, king g7, knight to e5. Knight to e5, check, king g7, g4. Take on g4 immediately, rook c1, h5. Rook to f6, h3. Now the move g4, sorry, takes on e4, that's what. King f5, rook to e8. Now you must play rook f8. Knight d3, I gotta think that in this game, I would give the big edge, even if the computer's only saying a little edge. Rook g7, rook f6 immediately, king to g4, rook to f8, to d4 with check. Finally, this game is over. Here we go. Maybe you can play d4. Knight to f6, now c4.
Thanks, Lorigan, for the 7 months.
d5. Rook takes d8, knight d5. Knight c3 now, take on d5, but rook c1. Move bishop e6. The engines are pointing out to bring a knight all the way to the c7 square. Bishop to e3, and then, what? The engine says king d2. He was safe on, relatively safe on g1, a6, and look. Rook to c2. Now, completely crushing position for white. Knight c6, bishop d5. Well, the bishop plans to go to c4, and the game continues. Bishop c5, bishop d5, b6, a3. Now the move a5, but rook c1. They can't calculate everything. Rook to d2, check. The best move for white apparently is king back to e1, bishop d5. And where are you putting your bishop? That bishop on f7 now seems like a funny piece because he bluffs with rook h2, rook to b1, check, maybe even rook takes b1, bishop check, to e3, bishop on f4, h5. You can't just play king h5, a4, a6, a7. By the way, he can now play bishop to c5. It's over, guys. And the game just started. Knight f3, and now the move d5. Automatically, I want to play the move g3. This move, c5, the engine's first choice. Knight c3, just taking on c4, just taking on c4. Queen c7 is not a move he should have missed. Now d4, a6, knight c3 now, and then queen c7. But d5, knight a5, e4. You see this position, and then b5, e5. Knight takes on c4. And in fact, the engine suggesting moves like rook to a to b1. The crazy knight takes on b2. Knight to e4. Sorry, takes on e4, that's what. Knight to e5. Bishop takes e5. Looks like it was a serious mistake. Now c4. Queen h5. Another check. King f8 and rook e7. Bishop g4. Bishop to h5. I put the point in my pocket. I will be providing commentary. But d5, g3, e5. Bishop going to g2. Bishop on e7. It's better to play knight c3 and d4. Knight e4. Now castles. Guess what? The engine analysis is so critical these days. You can't live without it. Knight on d3. c5, e5. Bishop on e7. e3. That was his critical mistake, putting his bishop on the bad square, b7. e4 was played. Rook to c8. Knight f2. Queen b6. Rook fd8, yes. f5. It's all about brute chess right now. The beginners say, hey, I told you this strategy worked. Well, just taking on c4. Yes. Rook takes d8. Check. Bishop on e7. Rook to d2. Bishop to c4. And now bishop f3. The fall from grace. Bishop takes on b2. But after knight takes e5, queen c7. Queen c5. Bishop d5. Check again. King f8. Take on a2. And now the move queen e5. Queen a3 is a little bit annoying. Queen d4. King c5. Put the king on g3. g5. H takes g5. He took on g7, so it's over. The show begins. Knight back to f3. And now the move d5. Bishop on e7. Now looking for c5. e3. This knight moved to c6. Knight bd2. Queen c7 is not a move he should have missed. Knight to d7. So rook a e1. Knight h2. a4. Knight g4. Knight f3. When Garry Kasparov sees you shift your body weight all these pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces on this side of the board. It means something must be going on the other side. Knight c3, queen d2, bishop e7, g5, h takes g5, completely busted. And now the potential maybe for knight d5. Again, knight e3 could be thought about here. Bishop takes on e3, c3. Now knight takes on e5. What? Knight e4 quite possibly would be strong. Check. And now king h7 is on the board. Queen over to g6. Well, guess what? There's a move knight f7. This game was a war. The show begins. d4, you don't want to do that. c6, e3, g6. And knight c3. And suddenly move knight h5. Bishop g7. Bishop e2 is possible. Right, so we have castles on the board. Bishop g3, rook to e8, c5. b6 takes on d6. b4, a6, a3. Oh, b5 was played here. Queen b3, bishop b7, queen to d8, a4. And now the move d5. Queen e7. No, you can't play bishop e2. Knight to d7. Knight d3 again. Bishop f3. f5 tactically is sound. Knight to e4. And g5, knight d3, knight e5, knight takes on e5. He won't forgive himself. Rook takes on e5, bishop takes on c6. The Indians actually give the move rook to d8. Rook takes on e6, queen to c3, queen d6, rook c1. And the Indians giving queen c7, rook d1, king on e5, a6, b5. So in this position, check. A7. H takes g4. Now white has tremendous progress. It's incredible. Here we go. Let's play d4. d5. Knight back to f3. c3. Now looking for c5. And then bishop to g5. Wow, trickery by the engine. b6. Knight bd2. Queen to c7. Rook e1. So this one, f4. Rook fd8. Queen then went to f3. Queen e7, and the Indians are screaming for the move h4. This idea of h5, he didn't have to allow it. Knight h7, that was crushing. Queen to g4, and now he's playing knight g5. Knight back to f3, knight e4, and they played this line. They had prepared the line against the Russians. Rook d2, cd4, but still, finally, and after bishop b7, it's saying the position is dead equal. Queen to d8, king g2. All right. We're not taught to play this kind of move, rook f7, so you could just be blind to it. Put the king on g3, c4, b5. This move, c5, the Indians' first choice. Knight e7, g4, check. Rook to c3, knight d5. E takes d5, e6, g3, take on d5. So the game, I will be providing commentary. d4. Knight c3, e5, knight f3, e4 was played, knight to g5, bishop f5. Automatically, I want to play the move g3, h6. Get out of there. They play this move g5, f3, yes, queen d7, knight f2, bishop going to g2, castle. The Indians actually think that castle, at first anyway, that castle was the best move here. c5, b6, and, oh, b5 was played here, and knight c3. The rook's going to land on e7. The move rook to e1, check. And now the move knight takes d4, queen d2. This knight moved to c6. Absolutely. I mean, knight c3 looked good. And now b4, queen e6, a3, bishop to f1. The humans playing now do not know. Queen back to e3. Queen c2 landed on the board. And now queen takes f3. d3. So suddenly this knight can go in d4, and the sudden knight to c1 shows up. Queen to e5, king h1, check. King to h2, queen takes f2. That's all. And the game just started. Knight f3, d5, e3, knight to f6, d4. You don't want to do that. Castles. And after bishop b7, it's saying the position is dead equal. Rook to c8, take on d5. Knight takes on d5. Knight takes on e5. And now queen to c7, queen c2, rook fd8, knight to d2, and bishop f3. Actually, the move rook d7. But knight c4, putting his piece on a good square, and takes on d6, takes on d6, takes on d6. Bishop takes f3, doesn't do anything. I put the pawn in my pocket, that's it. The game just started. Knight f6, g3, knight e4, bishop going to g2, castle, knight on f5, and knight c3, d6, f4, c6, e5, this queen to c7, knight to g5, d5, okay, knight c5, b6, knight d3, bishop to f5. I decided to test the engine with the move e6, bishop to e3, rook c1, and f5, knight to d7. Queen then went to f3, because there's just no mating ideas. Bishop e7, rook to c2, castles, queenside. You have to help me. I just judge the position. Take on h6, take on h6, f6. This game is coasting towards a draw. But what's going on here? And now b4, played rook back to g8, resigned. Thank you very much, and have a good night. The show begins. Knight back to f3, d5, g3 felt like, yeah, c3, c5. So bishop g5, you have to be very careful what you do on the next move. The engines are saying basically bishop b7, knight to d2, knight e8. I mean, now the move g4, the queen's on f3, rook to c8. He's got that one covered. Queen to g3, g5, knight f5, queen h3. It's like every chance he gets, he's going aggressive, aggressive, aggressive. Bishop takes on e3, cd4, bishop takes on d2, knight takes on d2, and now the move knight takes d4, d4, check, queen g3. Bishop f5, check. This g5 idea, king g4, and of course, you can't just play king h5. Bishop dropping back to e6, rook to d7, king g5, d2, rook takes on e5, check, check, and he's resigned, guys. And the game just started. Now d4, the move g6 appeared on the board, and this move d6, knight f3, knight to d7. But still, right? Check. Some audience members, I will be providing commentary. Now d4, bishop going to g2, b6, bishop on f4, after rook to e1, and then knight bd7, knight to e5, knight back to f3, queen d2, rook a c8, queen back to e3, h4, cd4, cd4. The engine's already loving white. Queen then went to f3. So in this situation, knight e4, queen to g4, king h7, looking like he's got the fish on the hook. Now the move g4, g5, h6, g5, and bishop to e3. Wait a minute, what's going on? If you want to, bishop f2 is the standard move. Bishop f6 is pretty much forced. Play e4, man, bishop to e3. Well, I sort of have mixed feelings. Bishop takes on d2, dude, and then queen to g3, bishop a6, and after queen c2, what? I mean, why? Take on a2, bishop going to g2, queen back to e3, bishop to c4, queen c5, queen g3, and now the engine says, well, knight g4. At first, giving black the edge, he resigned. Hello, everyone, and welcome. d4, d5, c4. No, isn't that the main line? Knight f6, right? It's the right move. a4, the move that the engine gives here is knight to c6, knight to b3 out of nowhere, c6, just taking on c4, bishop g4, check, knight to e5, and now the move knight takes g4, and you might ask, well, what if he just takes on g4? The engines actually think that castle, at first anyway, that castle was the best move here. e5, bishop to g7, rook to d4, queen b3. It doesn't matter if they know it's coming. Takes on e7, h6, rook d1, king h7, h4. There's no way you can swing around enough to get around this guy sitting rock solid in the center. King G2. All right. B5, of course. And after king to H8, the knight E3 indeed was a great move. Take on H6. And of course, B4, B3. King H7 has been noted as an error by the engine. H5 is the only break. So the game is finished, guys.